Uh, there we go. So when we started this, it was a small group and it was during the very first shutdown. And we started getting a lot of great speakers and a lot of great participants. And it grew. We had a lot of the same people, and over time I've kept saying, well, is this something that, maybe has run its course or not run its course or whatever. And, I was thinking about the other day, what a privilege it's been to host and to be a part of this thing, and how much I love seeing all these people on here. I've gotten so used to seeing all these people's faces and just how much light they bring me. And so whatever happens there, it's just been, it's a real privilege to be a part of this and to see all you guys. Barclay is somebody, I don't know anybody who's ever met, many of you know Barclay, but you can't know Barclay and not be endeared to him. He has got one of the warmest, most inviting spirits. Just seeing the guy makes me happy. His brother was integral to me first getting sober. Scott put him on me as kind of like a co-pilot sponsor, just to watch out for me. And I just love these guys. I love their family, and I love their energy. So Barclay, thank you so much for agreeing to come on tonight, and love you, man.
Thank you very much, Sam. I really do appreciate it. Tell you what, I am a little bit nervous because there's a lot of people on here that I love and respect a lot. And so if you don't mind, I am going to take just a minute to do a little prayer, and we'll meet back here very shortly. Amen. Hi, everybody. How are you? Hey, I'm Barclay and I'm an alcoholic, okay? And as Sam was just saying, my brother Randy, my last name is Randall, Barclay Randall, and my brother's name is Randy Randall. His real name is Edwin Sawden Randall III, so I think he would prefer to be called Randy Randall. But he and I are both in Alcoholics Anonymous, and we are part of our original family had 5 people in it, and alcoholism and drug addiction killed 3 of the 5 of us, and the other 2 of us are in Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't think that that's just some kind of crazy, wacky coincidence. I absolutely know that I owe my life. The reason that I'm sitting here tonight is because of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sam said, and I used to come to this meeting back in the day when it first started up, and oh my God, it was so powerful, and there was all these great people there, and Mary Thayer was there, and just all these people, and I'm absolutely enthralled. Pardon me, I'm taking my shoes off, okay? I'm absolutely enthralled by this meeting. And Sam said we had all these great speakers, and so now we're down to Barclay. But anyway, so anyway, I am supposed to talk about emotional sobriety and letting go of dependencies. And I guess I should say my sobriety date is January 1st of 1990. So I'm coming up on 31 years, okay? And it has been quite the, and the thing we read, how it works at every meeting, at the end of it, it says our personal adventures before and after, right? And that's what I like to talk about when I'm asked to speak, because I had adventures before I got here, and I have had adventures since I've gotten here. This is kind of a different talk, so I know that this isn't real. This is absolutely an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, but I want to talk about some stuff that I don't normally talk about. I used to talk about it because I wanted you to feel sorry for me, but I want to just tell you about some of the dependencies that I have had for my entire life. First off, I've been dependent on drugs and alcohol. Literally, my first memories, right, are of there was this, my dad was a veterinarian, okay? And I can almost guarantee I've done more dog dope than anybody in this meeting, all right? I've done your share and my share and all God's children's share of dog dope. But he also used to have, like, there's some people that are my age and older. Remember this thing called paregoric? It was like alcohol and morphine. It was alcohol and morphine. And it was like, you would, if like your baby was having a toothache or something, you'd rub a tiny little bit on their gum or whatever. Well, my dad had just like a 25 pack of paregoric around the house all the time. And my very first memories are I would make this tent in the middle of the jungle in our living room. And my mission was to get to the refrigerator and get the paregoric and get back to the tent before getting caught. So, I mean, I've been trying to get a buzz as long as I can remember. And so anyway, so that's my first and foremost dependency is on drugs and alcohol. When I was around 8 years old, I had my first major drunk. It's nothing much to report. I drank a bunch of beer. I threw up. I blacked out. I woke up the next morning with such a terrible hangover that I completely swore off drinking until I was 11. And that was a long 3 years. It really was. See, I don't want to try and be cute and clever and all that stuff, because that's what I do to make you like me, right? And what I really want to do tonight is to be me. And quite honestly, me is kind of goofy, and I'm good with that. I really am good with that. But I don't want to put on some kind of act. I really want to share with you how this disease of alcoholism, and I don't know whether it's because of alcoholism or alcoholism is part of it or what, but these dependencies that I have on life giving me what I think I absolutely have to have in order to be okay. Not long after I had my first drunk at 8, there was the first person in my family was taken by alcohol and drugs. My father was a good man. He was a good man, but he did all the stuff that alcoholics do, including kind of running around and stuff. And my mom, who was pretty strung out on Valiums, overdosed and died. And I was the youngest of the 3 boys, and I was a real mama's boy. And I think honestly, and I know this isn't a psychological meeting, but this is just kind of early on in my life that cemented, I need people to be okay. My dependency on you liking me got cemented then. And then I remember there was you know what I mainly remember about my childhood before and during my drinking, the main thing I remember was just being scared all the time. I was scared poopless. I was scared all the time. You know, I remember my dad, I didn't want to go to school, and I didn't want to go to school. And he had some liquid vitamins from the drug room, which, by the way, was my favorite room in the animal hospital, the drug room. Oh boy, that was my place. Anyway, he had some liquid vitamins that he gave me. He said, "Hey, this will make you want to go to school." I went, okay. And I'm not sure, honestly, I don't remember it working, but I remember going, okay, I'll do anything to not feel this gnawing fear that I have. And this emotional immaturity. And this, I love this. And hold on just a second. It says, the development of much more real maturity and balance is what Bill's talking about. I've never been known for my maturity and balance. It's not two words that people say, oh, that Barclay, so mature, so balanced. Never been, never been the case. But you know, it's getting better. It's getting better. Anyway, so I went along, and when I was, I don't want to tell you my story or anything, but these are just important parts of this emotional frontier that we are all on. When I was 11, two very important things happened, and I can't tell you which came first. I can't tell you. I think it was this first one. My father and my stepmother took me to a Jesus freak meeting. Okay. And I don't know, has anybody ever heard of Jesus freaks before? They were a thing. They started out in California. Bear, that makes sense that you've heard of Jesus freaks. Absolutely. They started out in California and they set off across America. And for some reason, there were two of them. One of them, I think, went up north somewhere, and the other one came to Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know why, but they came to Nashville, Tennessee, and they set up a big tent down on Music Row. And my dad and my stepmom took us all to go see the Jesus freaks. They were people that had been strung out on drugs, and now they had, turned their life around, and they were out there spreading the message. And I had a real, and I understand I was 11, but I had an actual, bolt of lightning, huge spiritual awakening. And to my 11-year-old mind, it was absolutely real. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to even qualify it by saying it was for an 11-year-old mind. It was a real thing. My heart opened up. I just, running down the aisle. And it lasted, I don't know, it lasted just this feeling of peace and contentment and all that stuff. It lasted like 3 weeks, right? And then it just kind of dissipated. And I remember thinking, well, if this is really all you got, man, then I'm out. And I mean, that's probably putting words in my mouth, but there were thoughts very much like that, very much like that. And about that same time, almost, I don't know exactly when, but almost that same time, I discovered Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill. Oh, Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill. Now, folks over in Australia and stuff, I don't know if you ever had Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill. Oh, Boone's Farm Strawberry. Well, they called it wine. Okay. Even though it had never seen a grape before, right? Or a strawberry. But I got a bottle of Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill down me, and I had a spiritual awakening. My spirit awakened, and I went, oh my God, everything really is okay. It really is okay. I can do this thing called life, and life is good, and 5th grade is good, and I can be, and it truly was, I found the thing. And my life from then until, there were a bunch of other things that happened, and I don't want to go into my whole drunk-a-log. Just know that I used to do a lot of dog dope. Just know that I used to do a lot of drinking, and normally my drinking would end up, I was great fun when I was drunk. I really was. I was great fun right up until the time when I puked on you, right? And that happened an amazingly big number, or set you on fire. And I've done that before. And I was fun until I was not fun anymore. Right. And then I was pretty not fun. And that's how my whole drinking went. It was fun. It was fun. It was like, oh my God, yeah, baby. I turned my will and my life over to whoever was driving. Right. And it was fun. But then at the end, it started not being fun at all. It just wasn't fun at all. And my brother, who was between my older brother Randy and I, he ended up getting in a single car accident and dying. And then my father basically drank himself to death within a year of that. And from that point, and that's when I was 26. When I was 26, until I got sober in January of 1990, I was 29 years old. And my brother, Tim, had died when he was 29 years old. My mom died when she was 42 years old. My dad died when he was 60 years old. And I just knew in my heart of hearts, I'm going to die. You know, and I was just standing there running in place, ready to go. And I went to Alcoholics Anonymous. I went to Alcoholics Anonymous. What? I mean, God bless. What an embarrassment that is, right? You know, it was cool if I was puking on people, but going to Alcoholics Anonymous was not in the game. But anyway, so I got into AA, and honestly, from pretty I found some notes sometime back that I had written when I first got sober, like in January, February of 1990. And it talked about, I got a sponsor within like a couple of weeks, and he gave me, there were these cassettes called the Joe Hawk tapes. And he gave me those, and I went through the steps. And here's where my disease of dependencies and disease of all these other things outside of alcohol really started to take hold of me. I did everything that you guys told me to do, almost. I was willing to go to many lengths. I really, really was. Matter of fact, I did 11 and a half steps. I did 1, I did 2, I did 3, I did 4 through 5 through 6 through 7. I even did the most dreaded one I saw when I first got here. I went, It was like I saw 8 when I first got here. And I went, I know where this son of a gun is leading. And sure enough, yes, Bear, 9. I went, oh no, but I even did 9. And I must say that when I started doing 9, I was around 9 months sober, 8, 9 months sober. I truly started to feel that promised spiritual awakening. My spirit truly did begin to awaken. But that was that was it. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I did to the best of my ability, kind of, I would make apologies when I hurt somebody, and I was trying, I would try to meditate, but my head pings around like you wouldn't believe. So I would just sit there for like 5 minutes and go ping, ping, ding, 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 ding. Okay, that's enough of that, right? And I had this spiritual awakening. I tried to practice these principles in my affairs, but what I didn't do is I didn't try to carry this message to another alcoholic. And the reason I didn't do that is because I was so consumed in self. And really what it ended up being was I pretended like I thought you wanted me to be, right? I laughed a lot. I joked around a lot. And not all of that was a lie. Please don't hear that. I'm just kind of by nature, when I'm kind of by nature, that's who I am. But there was a lot of just basic lying. It's like, hey, man, how you doing? Great to see you. Hey, Sam, woo, doctor, woo. Yeah, right. How are you, Barclay? Oh, I'm great, man. I'm great. I'm just going to be over here in the corner blowing my brains out. Okay. So I truly, and that came directly from needing you to like me. And it wasn't just, I don't think we are special in any way because we want people to like us, because we want to have, you know, fellowship. And I mean, that's a human need. But I believe that as Bill talks about, that absolute dependency on it to fill me with being okay, to fill that, you know, and that God-sized, that God-shaped hole. That was the first thing that really I tried to shove in there. Well, that and food. Okay. I shoved a lot of food in there, and I shoved in a lot of, you know, just I'll act the part. And about 2 years into it, I got to a place where I had come to the end of what I could do. I'd come to the end of Barclay's program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I didn't believe in suicide, but if somebody wanted to shoot me or push me in front of a bus, that would have been okay. And I really do think that God put in my life this guy named Don Roy. And I know that some of you guys here actually know Don, and I miss Don. Don was such a good man. I mean, he said, you know what, dude, we're going to get in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you are going to be an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And part of being an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous is you're going to start carrying this message. You're going to start carrying this message. You're going to get sponsees, and you're going to sponsor them. And that's all there is to it. And he took me through the steps out of the big book, person on person, and stuff started changing. The abject fear that I would wake up in every morning began to ease, you know, because I literally would wake up in the mornings puking, you know, just from, oh my God, here's another day, and I'm going to have to wing it through this dang day. I don't know how I'm going to do it. The best visual that I've ever been able to come up with is I literally, you know how like Spider-Man has the thingies on his wrist, and he'll pew, pew, and he can like fly from building to building, right? It's like my whole life is I would go ping, and I'd grab onto this fear here, and I'd go, oh no, oh no, oh no. And that one would pass, and I'd go ping. And I just literally flew through life, one fear to the next fear, and just sweating. And it was a blast. It was not fun. But I mean, my whole life was just this huge fear. And honestly, and I can really relate to Bill. I can so relate to Bill. My mother, and it's long history in the family. One of the reasons she committed suicide is she had really bad depression, and I have depression, and it just comes and it goes. And I used to think, man, surely to God, Barclay, you're working a stupid program. And quite honestly, sometimes I was right. But even when I'm doing the deal, I still get depression, and that's just the way it is. And I'm not gonna try and defend it. I'm just gonna say it just happens. It just happens. It's a lot better than it used to be, but it's still there. And I'm sure some of that still has to do with dependence on other people. Some of it's just chemical, and I can't help it, you know? So anyway, I'm kind of going through, and just in a chronological order, the way that these dependencies kind of took hold. So anyway, I started actually doing the deal, and what ended up happening is a lot of my sobriety And it is becoming less and less so. Thank God. Thank God. 30 years in, it's becoming less. A lot of my sobriety has been like whack-a-mole, you know. It's like I go whack, and then I go, hey, alcohol, whack. And it's like, oh, here's food, whack. Oh my God, here's sex, whack. And it's just like a continual whack-a-mole thing. And food will come up and this will come up. And one of the things that used to come up all the time for me to that I depended on was money, was money. My father, when I was growing up, I kind of knew that we were wackadoodle, but one thing we always had was money. Dad was a veterinarian. He did very well for himself. And then at the anyway, at the very end, what he ended up doing is he ended up giving all of his money to his third wife. So I went from being, okay, well, money's not a big deal to, oh my God, I need money. Oh my God, I need money, right? And so I have oftentimes mistaken money for God many times, many times. And I used to have a job that I made a lot of money. You know, there'd be good times and bad times. And most of the times it was good times and I made a lot of money. I'm not going to talk about anyway. So I made a lot of money. And what ended up happening, almost all of my dependencies, I've never been able to just go, okay, I'm going to stop doing this. Right? It's always been God's taking care of me. God taking care of me, God doing for me what I could not do for myself. And I'm probably going to ping pong around a little bit chronologically just because. So anyway, what happened was I got this great job and I devoted my life to it. It fed my ego really, really well. My wife at the time and I had 3 kids, and I was gone a lot because I was devoting my life to this job. My AA participation and my AA program, and I will say my AA program because it was not the AA program, my AA program really, really started to dissipate. And basically work and cash became my golden calf. And what ended up happening was a couple of things collided. I'll tell you about the other part in a minute. But that job ended up going away, and I was able to transition, and it had a huge effect on my marriage. It had a huge effect on my marriage. And what happened was I got so far away from the program and I got so far into my ego, into myself, that I got a new boss, and basically I ended up dating my boss. I mean, and you know, we didn't have any kind of physical thing, but I was dating my boss. And my wife didn't really like that. She saw us together, and anyway, so my devotion to that job and my devotion to me, my dependence, and truly it became, I depended on that job for all of my emotional security, all of my financial security, all of my worth was completely involved in that job. So much so that I gave my heart, soul, and relationship to that job. And it ended up, it didn't immediately break up my marriage, but we tried for several years to keep the marriage together, and finally the marriage fell apart because of that. And then I kept working, and I was still making money. I was still in the same business. And what ended up happening, I still had this just need for money. Everything else, you know, my marriage is crap. My work life is kind of crap, but I still got money, right? And then there was, I don't know if you had it where you are, but we had it here in Nashville, the great recession of 2008 and 2009, right? everything that I had done, all the work that I had done went away. It just went away. And I did not work a single day for 6 months, not one day. And I got, unemployment insurance, which I got unemployment, which paid a couple of electrical bills. But all the savings went away. Everything just went away. And I was desperate. I was absolutely, abjectly desperate, because my very being, the thing that I was a funny writer kind of guy, right? And this very thing that I was the reason for my existence just poof, went away. And this friend of mine sent me an email saying, hey, they're looking for a TV teacher at this public high school, McGavick High School, which is like an inner city, like creepy high school. I went, oh, hell no. I get it. No. And so I went to my sponsor. I said, can you believe this? They're wanting me to apply to be a teacher, right? And he said, you got anything else going on? And I was, oh. So literally, I got this email on a Thursday night. I think I talked to Scott that night. I sat down, I took 5 minutes. I sent off this email at Thursday night. Friday morning, I got a phone call. I had an interview Friday afternoon. I got the job and I started teaching on Monday. This is from Thursday night to Monday morning, right? I'm in a classroom, and the last time I was in a classroom was as a bad, stoned student, okay? And now I'm Mr. Randall. Hi. And it was absolutely A, terrifying, and B, I literally would have out-of-body experiences. I would be up I'd be walking down the hall, and I'm not making this up. I would have this out-of-body experience where I'm watching myself walking down the hallway and going, whose life are you leading, man? What happened to you? Barclay, what happened? Right? And there's these crazy kids, and they're like, ah! Right? And it took all the ego and all the stuff that was so wrapped up in that I'm Barclay, the TV funny guy, right? And it just took it and went, right? And I just went, oh my God, have you talked to your sponsor about this, dude? This is not cool. This is terrible. This is really terrible. And I stumbled through, and for 6 months, I was just going, oh my God. And I'm teaching TV, and I'm not going to go in. Anyway, I was teaching TV, and all of the technology I had was I believe a 1995 Dell computer. Anyway, sorry. Sometimes my brain goes down these rabbit holes. I'm back. But what ended up happening was that I slowly and very surely started realizing what everybody had been telling me when I told them I'm going to be a teacher. They all kept telling me, dude, this is what you were born to do. This is the thing that you're supposed to be doing, man. And I was like, no. But I found out truly the best way I've ever come up with to describe it is it feeds a part of my soul that I had no idea was hungry. And it absolutely, I feast on it now. I've never been paid this little in my life. You know what I mean? Public school teachers in Tennessee don't make bank. All right. They just don't. But I have kids who come to me almost on a daily basis, and tell me, I've got like all these notes all over my room and all over my desk and stuff. Kids telling me what a difference I've made in their lives. Me, a dog dope snorting guy that pukes on people, right? That I puke on people. And I'm helping kids. I feel like every day I make this much of a difference. And I gotta tell you, the money, it just doesn't make any difference anymore. It just, I've got this little house and I'm happy here and I'm useful. And I'm not going to go into the whole deal, but I'm a big believer in happy and useful. In the 12 and 12, it says these AA's 12 steps are a set of principles, spiritual in their nature, which if practiced as a way of life or something, I'm quote paraphrasing, expels the obsession to drink and renders the sufferer happily and usefully whole. I am whole when I am, like Bill's talking about in this article, when I am trying. I don't have to be good at it. And I got to tell you, a lot of times I'm not. But if I'm trying to put love out there, I'm just trying. And to be useful to you guys, yeah, absolutely to you guys. But to these kids from these the kids that I teach, they're like what we used to call anyway, I get to be of use to these kids, and it absolutely fills my soul. And I never, ever would have chosen it. I fought it, but the one thing that I did do is I was wise enough to listen to good counsel and just do it anyway. And that's God, nothing but God, and a little Scott, but God. So anyway, that was one of my dependencies. Maybe the best. Okay, good. Maybe the best example of one that really has been broken at depth, not by my hand at all, but my absolute dependency on money has really been lessened. I'm not going to say cured because that would be a lie, but it's so much better, and another dependency that I've had is like I said, when I was working at that job and devoting my life to that job, and everything about me was that job, and people would say, "Oh my God," and another part of it is I've always been a horrible flirt. And my ex-wife, there's some information, my ex-wife used to bitch about me. Oh, sorry. She used to point out to me that I flirted all the time. And I go, no, I'm just talking to people. You're just crazy. And she was right. I flirt. I'm a horrible, horrible flirt. And it ended up, the final thing that ended up happening is it not only broke apart my marriage, it broke apart my relationship with my kids. It broke apart my relationship with several people, to a point where I have 3 kids. They're 35, 32, and 29. And up until just a few months ago, 2 of them did not speak to me for years. And I've done a lot of prayer work around that, a lot of prayer work and a lot of step work around that. And maybe I'm so not going to take credit for it, but that's one that I actually had to work for. The one with the money and the one becoming a teacher, that was just God going, boom, you dude, you're never going to do it. Boom, you're a teacher, right? But this one I've had to really prayerfully and with much counsel work on. And as a result, two of my kids speak to me, and matter of fact, tomorrow I'm heading up to see one that didn't talk to me for years, which is a cool story in and of itself, but I don't want to talk for the whole time. There's one other story about dependency, and it has to do with people. It has to do with needing people to like me. And if they don't like me, because I mean, by whatever genetics or whatever, I have an easy personality. See, there's Barclay, don't go there. So I was going to go off on easy, but I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I get along well with people. And when I don't get along with them, I get pissed at them, right? Because it must be something wrong with you. If you don't like me, there's something wrong with you, right? And there was this producer that I worked with, and I could not stand this woman because she could not stand me, right? And there was just this bristly, awful relationship. I mean, when we get in the same room together, I mean, you could see it. It was like, and I hated her. I hated her. And I talked to Scott about it, and Scott said, well, what are we going to do about that? I said, I don't know. I think I might kill her. I don't know. And he said, here's an idea. Here, and he drives me nuts sometimes. He goes, I want you to send her love. So every time you think about her, every time the first thought about her comes to your mind, I want you to send her love. He didn't say it like that, but that's the way I heard it. So every time I would think about this woman, and it was never, God, please send this beautiful woman, blah, 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 all the love and all the blah, blah. It was like, God, look, you know, she's a B, and I know she's a B, right? I mean, she's a B. We know that, right, God? But I want to send her love anyway. And that's really the way it started. That's truly the way it started. And so I would send her love, and I'd send her love. And it just, it went on as maybe, I promise you, just like a couple of weeks or something, right? But and it really was grounded in this need to be liked, and she didn't like me, and therefore she must suffer, right? So I started sending this B love, and I was maybe 3 weeks. I don't think it was even that long. I was outside work, and it was raining, and it was just nasty, and I was on the phone with Scott. And I'm sitting there, I'm sure, complaining about some other thing that I don't remember. And all of a sudden, there's like a knock on the window, right, of my van, right? And so I go, hey, hold on just a second. And I look up, and it's the bee. It's the bee, right? Right? And so I go, hold on a second, Scott. And I go, and I open up the window, right? Like that, right? And she's standing there with an umbrella. And I said, hey, what's going on? And she said, hey, I'm going to Donut Den, and I wanted to know if you'd like me to pick you up anything at all, maybe an eclair. And I went, this is a woman 2 weeks ago. I couldn't be in the same room with her, right? And I just went, no, but thank you. And I roll up the window again. Scott. And I'm telling you, The reason I'm telling you this last is because there is this thing about, and this is, it's all over this article, this writing. There is this thing about just sending love out there and doing the taking, it's not taking the next right action, it's taking the next most loving action. And sometimes the very best I can do is to just send love to them, just send love to them. And it's my experience, my honest to God experience, that changes stuff. That's what I do every morning when I go into school. Every morning before every class, I send all these knucklehead kids love, right? And this place, and I tell them, I love you. And I say, you knuckleheads, but I love you, right? And they know that this is a place of love. This is a place where, you know, where God lives. Actually, I call him Steve at school because you're not supposed to talk about love. So I just go, so Steve. Anyway, to let you know where I am today, because it's almost 8:30 and I want to shut up. Where I am today, just I'm not, you know, you can tell actually that I'm not completely emotionally balanced, and I'm not completely okay, and I don't have these dependencies because I spent like 30 minutes set designing and lighting the place and all that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, and night before last, I was about to go to bed because I go to bed stupid early because I get up stupid early to go be a teacher, right? And so I was just about to go to bed, and there's just all this thumping music. And I live in a pretty small little neighborhood, compact neighborhood. And this house 2 doors down, there's this 19, 20-year-old kid that's down there with his windows rolled down and just blasting music, right? I was going, okay, he's going to go to, he'll stop in a minute. No, he's not going to stop in a minute. I'm going to make him stop. So I walk down there, and in my most congenial that I can muster was a, could you please turn it down? And they couldn't hear. And it's him and his girlfriend. They're all over each other. I went, could you please? Anyway, we both copped an attitude. So I'm sending that little bee some love now. So this absolutely is an ongoing process. God has removed a lot of craziness and a lot of dependencies. And I still have so many more. It's still, you know, it still is important to me that we get along. And it's important. I would like for you to like me. I will not die if you do not. I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't bother me, because it does, because, you know, I'm messed up, but that's okay. But today, my relationship with God is better than it's ever been. My relationship with my kids is better than most of my kids is better than it's ever been. My relationship with the students that I serve is better than it's ever been. And I got to tell you, that's a weird thing in this very strange year. After all the pandemic and everything, whoo, they're feral, man. They're feral. But it all hinges on what it talks about in here, is just trying, not doing it perfectly, not even doing it well, but just trying to be a source of continual outgoing love. And what ends up happening, just like this article talks about, is that by being useful and being a channel, the emotional sobriety and the balance and the ongoing maturity just come along with that. As long as I keep just trying to send love, there is no power greater than love, period. And I love you. And thank you very much for Sam. Thank you very much, dude, for letting me be here. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. The end. Oh, and as I say in class, dun, 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 dun. Hey.
Well, Barclay, you've done a wonderful job. However, you're not done. You got to call. So you call in a couple people, and then we'll see if anybody puts their hand up.
Oh my God, I would love to. I would love to. I would love to. Hey, I have to do this. Okay, I have to do this, Scott. I'm sorry, but I have to call on you. Okay, do you mind sharing?
Barclay, I am so proud. I'm Scott Lee, alcoholic. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Scott.
I am so proud of you. I mean, y'all try to imagine. I've had the privilege of sponsoring him for about 27 years. And what a phenomenal, you're one of my favorite gifts God's ever given me. I love the way your brain ricochets around inside your head like a golf ball hitting a Turkish bath. And I think your exuberance for life, I call it getting my Barclay fix. I just bask in your energy. And the fact that you do believe in the love thing, as I do, that it is the critical piece, and I watch you doing it, and I know that lives are changing. I know an awful lot of detail about some of that. Phenomenal experiences of this loving, laughing God has chosen you for a beautiful mission that you are so beautifully tailored for. And thank you for sharing all your love and joy with us tonight.
Yeah, I love you, Scott. I remember when I first, because Don Roy, the guy that kind of saved my life originally, he had he was just so rude. He went and died. So
it was so inconsiderate, so inconsiderate.
Very. So I was bouncing around and just going crazy. And I said, I'm going to call Scott and just get him to take me. I need to do a 4-step. I'm crazy. I just need to do a 4-step. So I called up Scott, right? I said, Scott, I need to do a 4-step. And he goes, I don't know how to do that. Well, what are you talking about? You don't know how to do. You're Scott Lee. You're like Mr. 4-step, right? He goes, I only know how to go through the steps from 1 through 12. Okay. And so that's how God tricked me into having Scott as my sponsor. And I remember people would say, does this mean you're going to start crying and blowing bubbles, Barclay? So, so yes, I cry, and yes, I blow bubbles. So hold on a second. I've been looking at. Hey, Tim, do you mind sharing for just a minute, Tim? Tim and Marcia Fitzpatrick. And I'm gonna look at these other. I'm
just Tim Fitzpatrick. Marcia. Thanks, Barclay. And there's something that Barclay's not going to tell you. A couple of things. Shortly after he became a teacher, he was honored as the Nashville Metro Teacher of the Year. This dog dope snorting drunk was honored, but that's not all. In 2014, President Obama flew into Nashville, Tennessee, to McGavick High School and honored this Barclay for his commitment to this new program at McGavick High School that they didn't have before. He's one of my friends and one of my road dogs. We've got a few people on here that are my road dogs. So I'm going to let other people honor you, but I just want you would never say that yourself. So I had to say it for you.
So I had to call on you. So anyway, no. Thank you, Tim. Hey, is there anybody that doesn't have their camera on that would like to speak? Because I would love to hear from you. I really, really would. Hello? Now I'm the teacher, so I'm used to there being long, awkward silences, okay? So hi, Kimberly Mans, how are you? Would you mind sharing for just a minute, hon?
On
Hi.
on what? Barclay, thank you for sharing that. That was really actually a very different version of your experience that I heard tonight. And I'm pretty grateful to be here to listen to it. One of the things that I learned in this particular format since COVID, and you have been participatory in helping me through some of that, is sort of that giving up that dependency, on I'm dependent upon money like you. I'm dependent upon feeling that my job is who I am. And your honesty, your complete honesty is one of the things that always touches me. And knowing where we're wrong, I remember I've known you. And I remember, you talk about starting that day off in prayer and doing that is one of the things. You were one of the first people I saw that, talked about that and lived that. And I know that people said they did it. I saw it in treatment and such. But when I became friends with people like you and other people in your circle, to see that, I became dependent upon that. And watching you and others like you, Scott and Tim and Marcia and others, live this life this way was really the hope that I had, that I could find that. Now, in the pandemic, in this particular forum, I remember seeing you and other Nashville faces. You looked all pretty tense during all that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know other people look tense. I love that all of you were here. But to know these people that I couldn't see and touch every day or go hug at a meeting was really one of those dependencies. And your honesty about that, about depending upon who I am, that was completely uprooted in that time.
Yeah.
This meeting really, really gave me some tools and continues to shed some light on things, as you've shared, that really break that dependency. Because when you really trust that God gave you that job, oh, my new kitten has an input, that God gave you that job, that to me, I know is true for my experience. When I do trust, when I do completely say God is everything or God is nothing, and really work for that emotional sobriety piece, then I get peace. And thanks for sharing your honesty. Thanks for reminding me of my own dependencies. And thanks. That's all I got.
Thank you, Kimberly. Hey, Veronica in Santa Fe. First off, I want to say thank you so much for being such a great participant. I love having faces that are smiling and laughing back. It makes me so happy. Would you mind sharing about dependencies or that you've had or whatever you want?
Sure. Thanks, Barclay. Veronica, alcoholic.
Hi.
I got a stack of dependencies. I mean, it's like they're jostling for pole position. I don't know which one comes. I don't know which one's the leader. But I'll tell you something that, and this isn't, I don't do very well when I'm not practiced and thought about it and then bring something to the room and the table because I've processed it and I've got an end story. Even if the end story sucks, it doesn't matter, but it's been processed and polished. So I'll tell you about something that's not processed and polished, is that as I'm listening to you, about dependencies, and I already said, man, I got a stack of them. But the one, I have a relationship with my brother that has come around, it's getting better. And the basis of it, the catalyst of it is we are collectively, he's in Sydney, Australia, I'm here in New Mexico, and we are looking after our mum who's in a residence. She's got dementia is escalating rapidly. And anyway, so we're forced to work together. Well, I mean, we're not forced to, but we've both chosen to by some miracle. And the dependencies that I remember, one of my running gripes was my brother and his family have made a decision, and including my family of origin, made a decision about me, and my brother refuses to think that I might be different than all the stories that he's made up. I mean, he could be right, but all the stories and the decisions that he's made, because if he has to change those decisions, if he comes to a different conclusion, then he'll realize that for 20 years or 30 years, he's been wrong and he might have to reassess it. And I'm sitting here going, what's my dependency? I've got control's a big piece of business in my world. And one of the ways in which I control is, and I don't know how I do it. It could be a different, new person, new city, new country. And some things end up just being exactly the same. And I somehow manage to control, the similar outcomes. I am actually getting to the point. So as I'm controlling these outcomes, and it occurs to me, I wonder what's under the control. And that's what made me think of my brother. I'm like, wow, I have a dependency on evidencing that the past is correct and accurate. So I recreate things so that it's always there's some similar threads there. Because what if that means that, and that dependency, and as I said, it's just the reason I'm bringing it up, and I think it's a real biggie for me, is just because I can feel how it feels in my chest cavity. But man, I might have spent the last 30 years focusing on the dependency to look or feel or behave a certain way just for so that I don't have to feel the fact that, well, wow, maybe I've been doing that wrong for 30 years. And I know it sounds vanilla, but anyway, there's something else in it. But dependency, I am, anyway, thanks for bearing with me on that. I think the broken at depth, my short experience so far in program is that, and I only came to this conclusion this year, and I'll have 5 years in December, and only this year I realized I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't even do the handing over to God. God is going to have to take it from me. That's where I'm at. And it's an interesting place to be. It's money. You talked about money. Again, money, big piece of business for me. I think that's really all I want to say. But these dependencies and broken at depth, and every week, whether I'm reading it or whether I get to hear someone else or whether I'm thinking about it or it pops up in another meeting at another time, I love this letter. I think this letter is probably the piece of literature that speaks to my isms, my issues, stronger than anything else that I've read yet so far from Bill Wilson. So anyway, thanks for asking.
Veronica.
Sorry, it was a bit long.
No, it's all good. Is it Dawn? Do I need to shut up now? Or do I just keep talking to people, or do you start talking to, or do you start pointing out people?
It doesn't matter to me. What would you like to do, Barclay?
Well, I was just wanting to know if there's anybody who would like to speak.
Nobody's raised their hand.
I'm not seeing any raised hands. Okay.
All right, the person that wants to speak, come on. Now's your chance.
Hey, Steven. Hey, man, how are you?
Yeah. Hey, Barclay, can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. I've never actually shared at this meeting. This has been like my home group. We meet 6:30 to 7:30, and I always miss the first part of this meeting because the meeting after the meeting at my home group. But this has really been a privilege, and Sam, thanks so much. I've been listening to a lot of these recordings, and it's been so much fun. I just wanted to say, Barclay, two things. Having you over at the house a couple years back when we had the Don P stories around the fire pit, that was a lot of fun. And I don't know if you realize it, but my wife is not crazy about AA people, mainly because I'm gone so much. And I think that you kind of sold her on AA people as being a lot more fun than she thought.
Good.
And
good.
anyway, thank you for that. That's actually really helped. And the other thing is when when my when my sponsor died back in 2018, you were you were the you were so good to me, and I just wanted to thank you. That's all.
I love you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, oh, hey, Elizabeth in Louisville. Hi.
Hey, Barclay. Thank you so much for your talk tonight. And whoever told me to make sure that I hear you next time you speak, thank you to you, because I can't remember who that was. But I'm Elizabeth. I'm an alcoholic, Louisville, Kentucky. I really love how you told a lot of your story. You told a lot of your experience through your stories. And I do that a lot too. Because I have a lot of funny stories about coming smack up against the wall with my character defects, very late. I mean, within the last 5 years, and I'm 33 years sober, and had no idea, that I had a lot of things because, until I got married for the second time, and figured out I didn't know how to get along with another adult in close quarters, I mean, a lot of things like that. But I really appreciated tonight. It's so crazy how effectively my defects can hide from me, and I can layer so much great stuff on top of them and not see them. And I was having trouble with someone I thought was a friend, today, and I don't want to admit that I seek validation from others. Of course I'm over that. That couldn't possibly be the case anymore, right? And so and of course I want to be beyond having to actually put pen to paper ever. But I did today. I finally did. I actually type it nowadays, but yeah, and seeing that truth again, it's like, wow. But I really appreciated what you said about just sending love to people, because sometimes I can get this so complicated, and I want so badly to be lifted out of this, morass of self-pity or whatever. And that is often just the fastest way to think, how can I be loving? How can I send love out in this situation? And it takes me out of self so quickly. And I just wanted to really thank you for that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I really appreciate it. I really do. Oh, look, it's Norma. Hiya, Norma.
Hi, Barclay.
Hi,
I
honey.
think Tim sent me this. That I didn't know you were speaking tonight. I never get tired of hearing you speak. And what else you all don't know about Barclay is that year after year, his graduating students come back to see him. I mean, they go back to high school to see him. Like, a lot of people don't want to go back to their high school for anything.
A lot of people didn't want me to come back to high school.
They're so grateful that he was their teacher, that they come back and they eat together, and they're just so, that's just amazing. That's just amazing. And the big book says that we're sure that God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free. If God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free, he's very pleased with Barclay. He's the most joyous drunk I've ever met with alcohol in his body. I mean, just walks in the room and it's like sunshine. Like, it's just so positive and amazing and so loving. And
okay, I'm feeling goofy now. I love it.
I could do that too, but underneath in my head, I'm saying, this jerk, but not about Barclay, but about people that I don't like. And then I think things like, they just don't know what they're missing. It's not me, it's them. And sometimes I'm actually able to let people be where they are and realize that I'm not that fantastic. I'm not that. I can be a pain in the butt, and I can be wrong, and I can be judgmental and play God in my head like crazy. And I don't know what's my biggest issue today is. I think I'm really hating getting old and not working. I'm really hating that, but I'm over being upset about it, and still got to stop smoking. That's gonna eventually get me, but uh, I'm just grateful to be here and thank you.
I
And it's
love you,
good to see
honey.
Bear. Bear here
Yes,
from Chicago,
I
and
love you.
that's all I got. I love you, Barkley.
Cool.
Thank you.
I love you
Thank
too,
you.
hon. Thank you. Hey, I think maybe we only have, well, we might have enough time for, I don't know. I'm like taking over. I'm gonna shut up. But hey, Brett, what's happening, man? Brett, are you
Hey,
there?
hey,
Hey, there you are. What's happening, man?
trying to unmute Norma. Norma, you are beautiful. Don't kid yourself. And Barkley, holy shit, what a colorful personality and an
That's a word.
inspiration to all of us. I mean, that was awesome. I found this meeting a couple months ago. I was up in Astoria, Oregon, with a couple frequent participants, Chris H and Wendy, and been really struggling with AA and the first step and getting back into the program, and this has been just such a refreshing opportunity and meaning to join, and JP and some of the recent speakers have just been phenomenal, and I just want to thank everybody for being here, and so grateful to join. And I've been trying to reach out here locally in Madison. I recently moved from Utah out here to Wisconsin, and trying to find somebody to work with, and reaching out to some local groups. And so I guess I'm kind of reaching out. If anybody knows of a solid person to work with out here as far as sponsorship, I'm struggling to find someone to work with, and would really appreciate that. And not sure how to give out my contact information or number. I've been trying to reach out unsuccessfully, but
Hey,
anyway,
Brett,
Barclay,
my phone number is right beside my name. If you'll give me a call, because I'm looking at like a bunch of guys that and Darren knows folks, Bear knows folks. We'll get you hooked up, okay?
okay, yeah, I
My
see your
number is
number.
right there. Well, I'm pointing at it. See that?
Thank you for your story. It's
Sure, man.
it was such a colorful experience to listen to your story, and Norma and all of you guys participating. Thanks for letting me join. This is just an unbelievable connection and group of people across the states and the world, really. So anyway, thank you for letting me join. Thanks, Barclay.
Thank you, Brett.
Brett,
And
they're also requesting, if you could, if you're interested, to put your number in the chat.
sure, I'll be happy to.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
So I just wanted to pause for a second and note that Sam has posted in the chat that due to quick reminder, no meeting next Thursday for Thanksgiving. We'll start back on December the 2nd with Sheldon F. from Las Vegas, Nevada.
If you've never heard Sheldon, do yourself a favor. Please come and listen to him. Please, please, please.
And Cindy M. has her hand up and has for a little while. Go ahead, Cindy.
Thank you very much. Barclay, I so appreciated your share and I really needed to hear it tonight. But I would like to say, I happen to love a man who flirts. Unless I'm married to him, then I'll shut her off. Now it's happened a time or two. I'm out here in Vancouver, Washington, and I've been on this call many times and I've never shared, and you really inspired me tonight, especially about sending love. I think of page 552 all the time, surrender for peace. I remember that 552, that's the only thing I remember. And it occurs to me that praying for somebody is a little bit different or a little short of sending love. So I needed to hear send them love, not just a prayer, even if you don't mean it, but actually sending love. I've been working with somebody on a committee here in my area, and this guy doesn't like me, and I can't figure out why. Just kind of like your story. I can't figure out why. I'm a nice person. Why doesn't he like me? And I'm going to be sending him love. And I know that's the answer. And thank you for sharing that tonight. And I'm really glad I was here. Thanks so much. And happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy thing. And if I can say one more thing, Scott is on here. Scott's my sponsor. If you have never heard Scott's love meditation, please find it. I imagine you can find it online at one of the X or better yet, if you can help support the folks that go around and tape everything. But please find Scott L. Love Meditation. Boy, howdy. The end. Oh, wait a minute. Now can I do? Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, I gotta say, huzzah, huzzah,
huzzah.
Well, thank you, Barclay. You've inspired people to share that never shared before. I'm impressed. Yay.
Yay.
They must be identified with the student effect. So thank you for sharing. It was wonderful to hear your experience. And I think we've actually met in your meeting. That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I believe so.
We have. So as Sam says, we'll go to our, how do you say it, Sam? Do it so I can figure out how it gets done correctly.
Go to our inner room.
There you go.
Say the Lord's Prayer to ourselves for all who care to join us. God, thank you guys for such a great meeting. Thank you, Don, for chairing.
Yes.
And thank you, Barclay, for your
Thank
experience.
you very
man.
much for inviting me. I honestly appreciate it.
I needed to light a fire up, man. I was kind of in a little bit of a slump. Not really, but a little bit of a slump. And I'm like, man, I got to roll a grenade out this next week, man. We got to So I was like, let's get old Barclay Randall up in there.
That was great. That was just great. Just what I needed to hear. That was great.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Barclay.
Thank you, guys. Seriously.
You gotta have Barclay in your home
Have a
group.
great
He is off a little
Thanksgiving,
bit tonight. Normally it's a little bit.
Take care.
Did I hear correctly that Sheldon is up soon?
Yeah,
Not
Sheldon's
next
December
week, but the
2nd.
week after that. Is that right?
Oh man. Yeah. Put it in your calendar, folks.